The views and opinions presented from here forward do not represent all of humanities, but are those of two young adventure seekers who met at school in Bozeman, Montana. As best as we can figure, all humans are searching for something, and our search may just as well be started around a campfire somewhere in Montana. But this fire is somewhere in the northern Yunnan province of China. Bradford McArthur and I, Brian Christiansen, set out to find steep creeks to kayak, and ended up finding much, much more. We found rivers of gold, and a beautiful culture changing as quickly as gold in the hands of a toothing toddler. What follows is our search for meaning in a foreign place exposed by the adventures of kayaking. The roots of kayaking are buried in the spirit of exploration. Paddling transformed through the decades by people searching out the wild and untamed until it became what it is today. In that spirit, we entered the world of dragons through Kunming, the capital of the Yunnan province. It was the start of our journey towards our Golden Brick River. The force the Chinese feel to work and just work presses into you. The feeling is almost claustrophobic. But there is still a lot of fun to be had in this bustling city. Every day there are people on every street corner doing exercises, just releases from the humdrum, maybe the most defining point of this culture. Elements of the old life, when not everyone lived in the city, live on today through these exercises, while modern times press in from every direction.
Okay, so we stumbled across a random karaoke bar.
Holy shit!
What's going on?
Test driving electric scooter.
He's gonna wreck.
Fun aside, we needed to buy a car, which turned out to be more of an ordeal than we thought.
So we thought our chances were just blown, but they're actually just debating about Brian's Chinese name. Apparently he needs one. But they decided on a name for Brian. I don't know what it is yet, but we're good to go.
Superstar?
I got a car!
I got a Chinese name, I can't pronounce it, but I think it translates to superstar.
Sign right here?
We filled out some paperwork, handed over a lot of money, and got our car. I'm not sure why I tried to read the contract. It was all in Chinese, of course.
We finally have our car. And it's awesome.
We drove out of town in our new Mianbaocha, literally translating to little bread loaf. We started down our Golden Brick Road towards where we thought we'd find our heaven of unrun creeks. But we never really left civilization. It just kept going. The most intriguing scenery turned out to be what was using the main expressway, like a dude in his baskets, then a dude in his buffalo, then dude on motorcycle, then dude on tricycle with his family. Then you would get stuck in traffic behind a couple of horses and buggies. Out here on the outskirts of the Yunnan, where the beautifully spectacular rice paddies and fields of flowers have made it into every nature flick about Asia, a drought has hit. We found nothing here but deserted terraces and red dirt, not a promising sign for the rivers and waterfalls we planned on running. Through a combination of maps and Google Earth, we thought we knew where we were going. Reading Chinese is hard, and the English translation never really helps, especially when the sign is in the wrong spot.
So as you can see, we don't read Chinese.
After finally asking directions to a waterfall using this picture I drew that I think says, "Waterfall, where is it?" in Chinese, we found out we were in the wrong area completely, as shown by this detailed hand-drawn local map. A couple of hours through some varying terrain, and we finally made it to the tourist area with the waterfall, to find a dry waterfall. It was okay. I took some time to take a shower, which was definitely needed, and it also gave Bradford plenty of time to fall in love with a local tour guide. Small language barrier somehow led to us dressed in funny clothes. All I could think of was 10cc's greatest hit, The Things We Do for Love. The great thing about being lost with nothing to do but drive is that we were able to see and check out some of the greatest views. And find some pretty odd things. In fact, we found lots and lots and lots of goats. We did find some whitewater below a hydro project, but all I have to say is burly. Just a little too stout for a warm-up run. We hiked down into a gorge above the hydro project, just saw that it was a little dry and kind of trashy. There's a season for everything, and the season here for river running may never start again. So we're off. Travis Wynn, the one kayaker we knew in China, was in Lijiang, a couple-day drive away. That is, if you took the toll roads. Otherwise, you start the drive off cruising through what we affectionately nicknamed the Valley of Death. There's a place where the earth movers play their symphony for miles, and the complaining ground just never stands still, constantly rumbling. Sometimes in China you see things that you never thought you'd see, and they'll honk at you too. Every so often on a Chinese road, you see vehicles falling off the road. No matter the condition, they were usually salvageable. This truck took off just as soon as he was pulled out of the ditch. Luckily, most of the Mien Bao's problems were solved with a hammer.
So what you get for buying a Chinese roof rack. They all have them, but nobody uses it. We use it and it falls apart.
In Lijiang, we couldn't find Travis right away. But it really was not too much of a problem. This town was on the tourist track, so it was really quite pleasant for visiting.
Snake fight, drugs, python, bloody chapter.
The local ethnic minority here, the Nashi, had kept themselves fairly out of the way throughout China's tumultuous history, resulting in a well-preserved old town. The same city, built with the same stones, walked on by people doing the same business for generations. The Hans, of course, did move in and kick out the Nashi until the entrepreneurial spirit of the Nashi brought them back, and they keep their culture alive through song and dance. As with everywhere in China, the old mixes with the new, and instead of the clash you might think would come out of it, a strange calm overcomes all. A lack of kayaking generally leads to some desperate measures to get on the water. Just got picked up by the Chinese postman to get delivered up the river. Yep.
Can you say hello to the camera? Oh, no.
Sometimes we're even questioned as to what we were up to. Yes ma'am, those are our boats. Other times, you just pose as a cleanup crew and jump in a river right next to your favorite restaurant. We had little signs plastered to our boat saying, "Official Lijiang cleanup crew, keep our water clean," or something like that. People were excited The only way we weren't carted away was because the government must have assigned us here, right? After a couple days of no Travis and a lot of poring over maps, we finally decided to make our way up to a self-proclaimed heaven on earth, the beautiful Shangri-La, a town where the cold wind first falls off the Tibetan plateau, bringing with it many storybook clouds. We found our river and went for it.
We're putting on a river we think will be good, but we're not sure this is the right river. Well, it probably is. We're just not sure where exactly we are on
Bradford.
it. All the maps are wrong.
Sometimes a yak is just more interesting.
All right, so
Sorry.
we'll see.
The put-in was on this woman's yak ranch. The cliffs around us loomed high, and our anticipation rose higher until we realized we were on a reservoir.
So we're here on our epic first descent. And
reservoir!
Yep, just hit a lake. That was not on Google Earth.
So we paddled to the dam and went around the thing. What happened next happened a little fast, which is why it is not on film. But we entered the world of mank. Mank in kayaking is the worst term to ever use. Yeah, it describes everything you never want to see, which in our case was log-infested civvy boulder drops. For suicidal folks, a great cup of tea. Not really ours, though.
If you want to run the mank, we found it! Class 6 is all the way! We only run the little bottom parts when we have to when we're gorged out. Yeah, this is day 2 on our exploratory lake mission. This is what's below the lake. Don't kayak here.
Alright, we're doing this so you don't have to.
After a strenuous 8 billion portages and running what we could, we stumbled out of there. A steep bamboo-infested gorge.
I just bamboo nutted myself. Straddled a pretty stout bamboo. Oh, that hurt.
Now I know why panda bears never really move. They just slowly eat their way through the bamboo. We didn't have that much time, like say 9 or 10 billion years, so we chose not to eat our way through, but force our fully loaded boats through the 8th dimension. Bradford charged ahead to get the van, and by the time I rolled out of that trench, I knew tonight would be different. Different than what we had become accustomed to. Turns out the van wouldn't start, but a kindly Tibetan family pulled Bradford in from the rain. It was raining hard by then, and he convinced them to come pick me up. Needless to say, I was cold and wet and tired and couldn't see well. This is the woman chasing the yak from earlier. We had a nice warm crackling fire, and just as I was maybe starting to feel a little normal, we all drank some stuff that looked like water and everything changed. Food was prepared and we pounded down yak butter tea and watched videos of the wife and her friends singing as my brain slowly turned around like a mutt, then just turned off. Tibet like I'd never seen before, mostly because I've never been to Tibet, and we weren't really in Tibet. We woke up only 100 yards away from where we put in. I still maintain none of this actually happened. Back in Lijiang, we finally met up with Travis and crew. This is Last Descents, a rafting company formed based solely on conservation. After falling in love with China's rivers, Travis found out that they would all soon be dammed. The goal now is to take as many people down these rivers to see them before their beauty is drowned out forever. So we hit the great bend of the Yangtze for a trip that will last a lifetime in our memories. Spectacular views and no one around, except for the odd gold miner. You heard right, gold miner. They're still around. They kept heading west, and they went so far west, they ended up in the east. With the loss of respect for the government's strict environmental standards that are not strictly implemented, gold mining operations run amok. The Yangtze, its little particles of gold shimmering in the sun, holds unimaginable natural wealth to either be exploited for the greed of a company or to be shared by all. This portion of the Yangtze, the Grand Canyon of China, will be underwater within the year, taking with it remote Nashi villages that have withstood time for 1,000 years unchanged. Some of them even already deserted, as their inhabitants are forced out by dam officials. A dam site we floated through, just as so many of these sites, does not have its environmental permits. The environmental proposals would seem to be too scary for officials to even allow these proposed dams, but they continue to work in their goal to stair-step the Yangtze from source to sea with tens of thousands of dams. 99% of China has electricity and needs no more except for the booming industry threatening the environment. It's a toss-up between clean hydropower and the loss of the natural beauty and rich cultures found only here that still have yet to be appreciated by the rest of the world. Because of the secrecy of these sites, we had to hide our cameras. These fellows here make their living smuggling goods and people through the construction zones, all while wearing shirts saying, "Free rivers for a carefree life." As we decided to continue our adventure, Travis told us that the Salween River, famous for its huge water and known among the locals as the New River, new meaning angry, had hundreds of tributaries with lots of promise that no one has really taken a look at. We had our sight set on one far north on the map. We struck up the New River Valley in our little bread loaf, taking it where no bread loaf had ever been before. Or so we thought. Being right near the Burmese border, the language spoken commonly was some sort of Burmese cross, which made asking for directions even more difficult. This drive is probably the most beautiful and interesting cruise I have ever taken. Bradford probably agrees. Respect for the river's powers comes in many ways. These people's respect comes out of fear. Every young child knows the power a mighty cataract holds, and it's up to them to decide what happens with it. The current generation will exploit that power until there is nothing left. If left unchecked, the industry here could completely move rivers, just like this one. The tributary we were looking for took us far north through a sort of nature reserve. The sheer beauty here makes this crazy road totally worthwhile. This time, the Mian Bao wasn't quite fixed by just hitting it.
All right, tell us what's going on.
Well, Sonny, we got ourselves a nut that got itself in a silly position.
The road got even more intense, and the things we saw even more peculiar. Then we were stopped at some piddly little border crossing. At some point, through the angry yelling and confusing gestures, we figured out we were trying to cross into Tibet, our tributary just a few kilometers up this new and improved and highly guarded highway to Lhasa. The only thing to do now was head back down and explore some smaller tributaries. Just got stopped on our way into T-Town. We didn't know it. Tibet is right over there, behind us. Somebody forgot to tell us that we were going that way.
Try and check out creeks a little too far north. We got stopped.
Who says you can't wear the same dress to the hoedown? This hoedown was more like, move out of the way, cats and dogs, here comes monsoon season. Next time I'm in monsoon season, I'm buying a bigger tent. God was not crying in this rainstorm. This was just the result of one too many bowls of noodles mixed with the wrong kinds of street meats. They don't call this the Yangtze River for nothing. All you brave souls out there, this hole is still waiting for you to try out your new super boof. Luckily, the locals here post safety all the time and practice for stuck kayakers by pulling out driftwood. Not only do they have this fun hole in their backyard, at times like these they have created the perfect kayaker traps. On days like these, there's not much paddling to be done. So as we got the van welded back together by guys adhering to strict OSHA standards, we checked out the local landfill. We cruised out of this town after they rebuilt our chassis and continued classifying creeks into genus, species, subspecies, most being in the species, angry little thing, we'll be back for you. The first of which took us up and through a little man-made diversion, up some pretty cool and angry water, and then to Burma.
Burma bound.
Surrounded by nettles.
Our impulse decision started to seem like a bad idea as the sun went down. We spent a cold night on a ridge with only our cameras to keep us warm. The thought of doing what the locals do, commuting back and forth from village to market through these mountains seemed glorious, but we just couldn't do it. The border was very close on the map, but vertically close, not so much. We saw the ridgeline we needed to get to, but our underprepared bodies just couldn't do it. These guys and gals do it all the time, with set camps along the way. This was much more than just a day's commute. At least we got some good views. So, it was a good try getting to Burma, huh? Getting back down, we realized we didn't have much time before we had to say goodbye to China. So we took notes on some 40 beautiful tributaries and picked one to kayak. We picked one with a sort of boating community and tried out a Salween drainage tributary. We liked what we found, a classic jungled out gorge with some classic drops that we ran with some classic marginality.
This drop is in China, not California.
This was the end of our travels. We just needed to find our way back to Kunming.
Hey, Doc, you know where we are?
Back in the slums of the big city, we had some unfinished business. The roof of the Mien Baucha took some damage from our kayak rack, so we hired some guards while it got repainted, before giving these guys $1 to take the thing off our hands.
George Washington. George Washington never tells lies? Oh, yes.
Our time officially done in China, we jumped on a train to Hong Kong to catch our flight home. As we traveled from the remoteness of the West to the industrial capital of the world in the East, we thought of this as not just an end to the adventure, but just one more step in the search. Our golden brick rivers took us where we never thought to go, giving us exactly what we were looking for. As with any good exploration, we didn't know what we would find, but we found it. It being an adventure. Not the classic adventure of our culture's past, but a modern one. One that anyone can undertake in their own way. One that if no one else remembers, we still will. One that changed our outlook on how this world is built, and showed us what we need to do to add our bricks to a foreign country's history domestic to us only because we care.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
What's left to explore is between the places that we know, and in between the feelings that we've never felt.